A bear in a storm. For gosh sakes, Donald, get up! Donald opened a sleepy eye. Aye, he murmured. Give a tired engine a few minutes rest. But we cannot do that, exclaimed Douglas. You have to take James's stopping train whilst I take Henry's goods. Now stir yourself. Oh, fine, I'm up. Douglas's drive from fireman came along to start work, whistling, and Donald looked out of the shed, thoughtfully into the cold dawn air. Dougie, he murmured, for he was still rather sleepy. You remember this? Sky blue and bright, shepherd's delight. Sky be lit in your morning, shepherd's warning, aye? Bear, sleeping in the berth next to the twins, was woken by their loud exchange. What does that mean? Both twins looked at the large green diesel. What? That rhyme you just said, Donald. What does it mean? Douglas explained. Back in our Caledonian days, we do go puffing off to yon countryside where the shepherds work. There be where we pick up your lime. All it means if yonder sky is clear and blue come sunrise, there be a clear day ahead. But if yon sky be lead, oh, there be a big storm a blowin'. Darker young lead becomes, the worse the storm, and it be lead as my fire. Bear peered outside the warm shed into the crisp new day, and indeed, the sun was just cresting the horizon, bathing the sky in a deep, rich red. So? Snorted Bear. I've been through storms. All engines have been through storms. I've been through more bad storms than I can count, and I'm just fine. So there. Aye, that be as it may. This young storm blowin' be a right big, strong one. Best be careful. Huh, I don't care, muttered Bear, as he rolled from the shed to pick up a goods train for Eggwood Station before taking the express. A little rain, a little cold. What's that to a fine, strong diesel like me? The twins chorused behind as he growled out of sight. Dinna say we didna warn ya. But although the warning might have sounded mocking to Bear, the twins held real concern for the diesel. I hope nothing happens to him, remarked Douglas. For all our sakes, if another engine failed, I don't think the rest of us could take the strain. Donald grimly agreed, and both puffed off for a hard day's work. Later, Bear was preparing to take the express. Originally, it was scheduled for Mac, but with Henry's recent cylinder failure and Richard busy on Eggwood's branch line, Mac was drafted to take Richard's next train. Bear growled quietly as he waited for the guard's whistle, and all the time kept looking at the ever-darkening red sky. Humph, he huffed to himself. A little rain wouldn't harm anyone. What do those twins know? I can take on any storm easily. At last the guard's whistle sounded, and Bear growled away. Bear made good time and reached the other railway in fine form. As he was being prepared for the journey back, the first small droplets of rain began to fall. A nearby diesel shunter looked up at the now blackened sky. I should watch yourself if I were you, he warned Bear. By the looks of things, we're in for a real deluge. Bear was getting a little annoyed by the constant weather warnings. Look, he said wearily, I appreciate others' concerns, but I don't need them constantly, he finished growling fiercely. "You'll be sorry," the Diesel sneered, and scuttled away back to the safety of the shed. Bear started confidently, but as he rumbled over the bridge and onto Sodor rails, a bright streak of lightning flashed, followed by a clap of thunder, and Bear was blasted in the face with a torrent of rain. "Ugh!" he exclaimed as the rain pelted down. "I don't like the looks of this." "Neither do I," said the driver. "This weather's going from bad to worse." But that wasn't the only thing that was turning bad to worse. Just after the workstation, Bear began to feel a little groggy. He gradually found himself going slower and slower until he eventually rolled to a complete stop. His driver clambered down to inspect him, but was almost blown away by the strong winds as he made his way to Bear's inspection cover. He tried to look for something wrong, but it was impossible to see with the heavy rain pelting down in cold, wet sheets. The guard struggled up from the front of the train. "Now what?" he shouted over the noise of the wind. "Head to the nearest signal box and send for assistance," replied the driver. "And try not to get blown off your feet!" he shouted after him as he made his way through the strong wind. Donald and Douglas were in a much better mood later in that day, in the yard at Wellsworth, shunting well wagons, heavy trucks full of scrap metals, and other trucks into a long, heavy train to take to the workstation. Suddenly, they heard someone yell their names from the nearest signal box. The signalman came running out and squelched to a stop, sopping wet in front of the twins. "Leave those trucks, please," the signalman said to them. "We've just had a call from the signal box a good distance away from here, somewhere between Kelsport Road and Kildane. Bear has broken down with the express, and they need someone to pull the express home while Wendell takes Bear along to the workstation. Can you do that for us, twins?" "Aye, of course we can," chorused Donald and Douglas. They were grateful for a rest, at least for a while. The engines had to turn round on the turntable, as there was no other turntables at hand on the way. Then, coupled together, with both drivers keeping careful watch on the line ahead, the twins set off over Gordon's Hill as the weather once again took a turn for the worse. It was pouring down hard by the time they reached Bear, who was a few miles past Kelsthorpe Road. Wendell, who was already there, being coupled onto Bear. Bear's mood also took a turn for the worse when he saw who had come to take the express on. His face was thunderous as Wendell readied himself to tow him back to the workstation. "Don't say a word," grinded Bear, and Bear, looking so fierce, the twins didn't. The express is normally packed with people coming to and from the Fat Controllers Railway, but due to the weather, the express was not as full as it would normally be, which made light work for the Scottish twins. The train reached the big station safely and at a reasonable time, and the passengers cheered and thanked the twins before leaving. The twins still had work to do, so they both headed back to Egwood Station, where they found their works train still waiting for them. They double-headed the train to the workstation before helping Wendell with shunting round the yard. It was now dark, so instead of going back to the sheds at the ends of the line, they stayed in the work shed with Wendell, Bear, and other engines. Bear was quietly brooding as the twins puffed in for the night, and as all the engines were settling down to sleep, Donald whispered to Douglas, "I've been through more bad storms than I can count, and I'm just fine. Isn't that right, Dougie?" Bear's face turned a bright shade of red, and he said not another word until he was sent into the workshops to be mended the next day.